Iran said Saturday it is reviewing a decades-old law that requires women to cover their heads, as it struggles to quell more than 2 months of protests linked to the dress code.
Here's a summary of the article.
Tehran. Iran said Saturday it is reviewing a decades-old law that requires women to cover their heads, as it struggles to quell more than 2 months of protests linked to the dress code. Protests have swept Iran since the September 16 death in custody of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Iranian of Kurdish origin arrested by the morality police for allegedly flouting the Sharia-based law. The hijab headscarf became obligatory for all women in Iran in April 1983, 4 years after the Islamic Revolution that overthrew the US-backed monarchy. In September, Iran's main reformist party called for the mandatory hijab law to be rescinded. The Union of Islamic Iran People Party, formed by relatives of former reformist President Mohammad Khatami, on Saturday demanded the authorities prepare the legal elements paving the way for the cancellation of the mandatory hijab law. Iran accuses its sworn enemy the United States and its allies, including Britain, Israel, and Kurdish groups based outside the country, of fomenting the street protests which the government calls riots. Oslo-based non-governmental organization Iran Human Rights on Tuesday said at least 448 people had been killed by security forces in the ongoing nationwide protests.
This post received a score of 53,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
As an Iranian, our problem is not mandatory hijab, now it's the whole regime and our freedom. You can't just kill our children and say okay now you can go out with no hijab. WTF do you think this is anyways? This is a show of weakness and we're winning, so fuck dictator.
I agree. It's not, and should not be about head coverings. It's about equality. It's about eliminating the senseless murder of women and children. It's about allowing women to be viewed as the human beings they are, rather than property.
The head covering rule has been a joke for like 5 years anyways. Women in Tehran wear it as a scarf around their neck to count as complying with the law. The Chinese women there wear some durag looking thing that covers as much as a fez. Going back to that isn't what anyone is looking for. The regime has to go.
I believe that's mostly something the rich can afford to do. But yes, Iranian women do show some hair even if they wear a hijab, especially in the cities. It's pretty normal to show an inch or so of hair above your forehead. There has been a slow but persistent change that has now quickened and led to many simply refusing to wear hijab as they go on with their life, a sign of disobedience.
Power to the people.
Are they really actually winning?
The win here is the fact that the regime is desperate enough to do this. I'm 99% sure they won't go through with it because they'd essentially be signing their own death warrants. As others have stated, the compulsory hijab law is the Berlin Wall of the Islamic Republic. But the fact that they're even reviewing such a fundamental law of their regime was previously unthinkable. Their weakness is showing.
Almost feels like a Libya situation where the dictator giving out some last-minute freedoms ends up inadvertently giving people the courage they needed to actually rise up completely. Or not, but it's a step.
Greater than almost feels like a Libya situation where the dictator giving out some last-minute freedoms ends up inadvertently giving people the courage they needed to actually rise up completely. I recognize it from Iran itself too, quite recent in history. The Shah delivering a speech in 1978 where he promised reforms and said he heard the people's revolution. Don't listen to these people who are simply parroting what they've heard without any research of their own.
The Shah was so much better than the current regime and people heavily over-exaggerate how strict he was.
The Shah had secret police and torture chambers. So does the Ayatollah, but let's not paint such a rosy picture of the past.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.